So you really want to finally sit down and write that story you've been outlining forever. The problem? The outline keeps changing. No matter how many times you sit down and write the thing, something new pops up, a new idea comes to you, a character changes, the setting changes, the central struggle changes. What do you do to finally settle on something and get writing? Let's talk about that today on the Writing Advice Q&A. And hello there, I'm Max, also known as M. Karen. Today, on the Writing Advice Q&A, we're going to be talking about the ever-changing outline. Now, before I go on anywhere, allow me to remind you, as always, that the following is merely just my advice, my opinion, and what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who has, apparently now, a slowpoke on their shoulder. Now, the ever-changing outline. I got a question from a viewer just like you. And remember, I love to answer your questions, and I love to feature them in future videos. So, if you have a question, consider leaving it in the comments down below. I got a question from a viewer recently on the idea of an outline that just keeps changing. You want to sit down to write, but every time you look at your outline, a new idea comes around, a character changes, the central struggle becomes something else. It's no longer fantasy, it's sci-fi, there's no romance. Wait, there's the romance again. What do you do? Well, my advice is twofold for anyone out there dealing with this. First, ground your story. And second, start. As soon as you got it, as soon as you've gotten a hold of it, start running and don't look back. Allow me to explain. In my personal experience, I've written a lot of books and I have outlined even more. And I can tell you from personal experience that the outline, in some circles, some writing advice places, they treat the outline as though it is the Bible to your story, the central crux of it, the guide, the blueprint for your story, and I don't really see of it that way. The outline for me has always been the starting point, the place from which the story sprung, the center of all of that inspiration, the seed, the bundle of ideas and thoughts that led me to finally start writing this story. Now, no one is going to tell you this, but I believe that the outline is always wrong because it is the story that is always right. I joke. I've been joking forever, or making a joke of this real situation in which the outline for one of my older novellas involved a character having fire powers. And, spoilers, that character has no resemblance of fire anything in the final novel. And it wasn't a matter of, I wrote it and then I revised it out. Those powers just never showed up. No justification for them showed up. No, not even a glimpse of them showed up at all. Not even in that character's backstory. They were in the outline and nowhere else. And really, in retrospect, I have no idea what I was thinking when I added that to her outline. It makes no sense. Why would Annabelle have fire powers? It's silly. And that has been like one of the backbone experiences for never really treating the outline that seriously. So yes, I have had a lot of silly experiences with outlining. What does it particularly have to do with grounding your story and getting running? Well, I find in my personal experience that, and the following is going to come off as being a little bit mean, but I don't mean it in a bad way. The outline can seem like work, but sometimes, especially after you have finished the outline and you're just working on it some more, it can just basically be procrastination. It really can be. And I understand that because it is scary and daunting to sit down and write. It really is. And what matters here the most, and I'm gonna be honest with you, as soon as you have written the outline, as soon as you know in your mind what you think the story, hopefully, is maybe going to be about, start writing. Start writing. Start running, and don't look back. It is incredibly easy to get caught in the spiral of, maybe I should outline more. Maybe I should do some more world building. Maybe I should do some more research. Maybe I should make a map of my stories, of my settings world. Those are all really cool things. But I've been there, and I can assure you, you don't need to make a map of your story. because you're probably gonna have to redraw it later once you realize that things happened in the story, like, oh, there's another continent in this story that I didn't think was gonna be there, and the central city is not where I thought it would be. Because the story changes. Like a seed you plant in the ground and a tree that grows from it in ways you couldn't have expected. Hopefully not next to all those power lines or right above the rooftop of your house, but that's how life is. It's the organic nature of storytelling. It happens usually without much of our control. As a storyteller, yes, we are catching the story and committing it to paper and pencil, but it is ultimately up to the power of revision to make sure that it all kind of makes sense and it is congruent. But in the act of writing itself, writing is incredibly wild and volatile. That is why trying to make sure that it follows the outline is kind of an excuse expression, folly. It's pointless. The story is gonna change, it's gonna break, and I've joked about this forever, and if you follow me on Twitter then you know, but like, every time I start a story, like the book that I'm almost done with right now, the outline was out the window by like sentence 2. The way I thought the story was gonna begin didn't start at all. The character I thought was gonna get introduced right off the start didn't get introduced at all. The antagonist, who I thought was gonna sound one way, didn't narrate like I thought they would. They were way more bitter. They were way more angry. They swore way more than I thought they would. That's life though. What am I gonna do? Go back and change everything from the beginning? That's what revision's for. I'll let Max from the future figure out if everything actually makes sense. My task, as the person writing the first draft, is just to capture everything. Grab it, commit it to paper and pencil, and keep on running, keep on writing, and don't look back. Now, I know that I've given you the advice to, as soon as you know what your story is about, maybe you could even say as soon as you can externalize it in a sentence or two, what you think your story maybe is hopefully going to be about, you should start writing. There's a couple of questions that prop up, and I'm gonna tackle them pretty much right now before I finish this video. What if something unexpected happens? Things unexpected are always going to happen. It is like life. It is the organic nature in which storytelling in fiction emulates that of real life. Things happen. Things beyond your control happen. Thankfully, you are, as the storyteller, your job is only to capture those things. Capture them, and if you're ever uncertain what should happen next in the story, if you're ever uncertain as to where should the story go next, follow your characters. At the core of it all, they are at the center of the story. It is their story, thus they know where it is going. Trust in your characters, and if I must give you the scariest bit of advice anyone could ever give you, let go of control. Let that tree grow as it may. If it does grow around some power lines, we can trim those branches later. Let it grow now. Let it grow. The metaphor is falling apart in my hands, but let it grow so that it exists as a thing that in the future you can revise into greatness. But you cannot revise it. You cannot make it something great and amazing if you don't write it first. Sit down and get to work. Writing is work, but writing is also fun and it's exciting. Writing to me has always been the act of discovery. So, step outside of the safety of your house. Take the outline as a map on the back of a napkin. It may lead you to where you think it's going. Some outlines are more true than others, but they're all always kind of wrong. Let it guide you, but not tell you where you're going. Because sometimes life happens. Sometimes you take the wrong turn, and sometimes you end up not where you thought you would end up, but in a better place. Okay? Okay. I hope that this answer helps, and I hope that if anything, I gave you another point of view. Thank you so much for tagging along. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. On the screen right now, links to the playlist, subscribe button, Patreon button, and a link to my other channel with my best friend Kitty. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely day, and keep on writing, writerly friend. Keep on writing.